Well, today, Mark Zuckerberg taking the stand at the landmark social media trial in front of heartbroken parents who blame these social media companies for their children's poor mental health and even some of their deaths. While Instagram denies being addictive, Zuckerberg will have to answer to these internal emails revealing its own staff comparing it to a drug, admitting, quote, "We're basically pushers." Our next guests have been covering the trial from the very beginning. Joining us now, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett and Kurt the Cyber Guy. He is live outside the courthouse in Los Angeles. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Greg, what can we expect? I know you're an attorney. What can we expect both sides to say and argue?
Well, I agree that Zuckerberg has never been warm and fuzzy in public settings. He's probably spent countless hours with his lawyers, preparing for what's going to happen today. He knows a lot is at stake. If the plaintiff wins, it would open a Pandora's box, thousands of similar lawsuits, many of which have already been filed. So this is really the bellwether. Zuckerberg will be equipped. He's not going to face any questions his lawyers haven't prepared him for. He's going to deny that his company's products are defective, and he'll draw a distinction between clinical addiction and problematic use. Head of Instagram did that last week. And Zuckerberg will emphasize how the company has more recently installed safety tools, privacy settings, content restrictions for minors. But, make no mistake, this is a hostile audience of angry, weeping moms packing the courtroom in Los Angeles. The judges warned him, knock it off, but he's stepping into the lion's den, not easy.
Yeah, Kurt, the judge was saying knock it off to the parents because they were reacting, some of them crying, and he just wants it to be civil and not have the emotion, even though that's hard as a parent, especially if you've lost your child. Many of them are flying out there. They're trying to get a seat inside the courthouse. What stands out to you? What can we expect today from Zuckerberg?
What's kind of interesting is that the defense counsel for Meta, Zuckerberg's people yesterday afternoon filed an interesting motion saying, we don't want money, his salary, how much money he makes to be part of this trial, which by filing the motion in and of itself is going to make that front and center today. And also that's public information. But by the way, I don't know, is this a distraction for the case? I'm not exactly sure. But what I do know is that it was about 2 years ago that he was in front of Congress testifying. And that's when he turned back to those parents and apologized. Some of those will indeed be right behind me getting in line to have that front seat inside the courthouse. In terms of how well he'll do on the stand, it's likely to repeat how he's done in the past, which is awkward, not warm and fuzzy, exactly as we're talking about. And can Mark Lanier, the plaintiff's attorney, really rattle him enough to get enough information out of him that puts Meta in a tough spot in this particular trial and sends them in the direction that the plaintiff is trying to go, which is to prove the fact that this isn't about Section 230, where they have, freedom of liability. This is really about, did you engineer a algorithm and a path by which it caused harm to somebody or children in particular? And if so, how much of that did you know, Mr. Zuckerberg, is going to come out today?
Okay, so this is Meta's statement about the trial. We strongly disagree with these allegations and are confident the evidence will show our longstanding commitment to supporting young people. For over a decade, we have listened to parents, worked with experts in law enforcement, and conducted in-depth research to understand these issues that matter most. We're proud of the progress we've made, and we're always working to do better. Greg, this is the first time Zuckerberg, we saw him 2 years ago, January of 24, in front of the parents, in front of lawmakers, and he turned around to the parents and he said he was sorry that they have lost their children. But this is the first time in front of a jury. How will that change things this time?
Well, somebody like him always changes things. But look, the plaintiff in this case has two major problems. First, she was treated for years by two therapists, a psychiatrist, none of whom ever diagnosed her with social media addiction. So that a huge causation problem. She may not, in fact, suffer from addiction caused by social media, but depression caused by abuse at home. There's evidence of that. Second of all, her lawyers have to prove that the company's designed a defective product. That's a very high burden because the defense says, wait a minute, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they're not defective at all. And instead, the plaintiff misused the product with her own chronic engagement. It's called personal responsibility. And where's parental control in this? Was mom oblivious, not doing anything? I'll give you an example. If a person constantly binges on chocolate, then suffers type 2 diabetes, is Hershey to blame? Is the chocolate bar a defective product because kids love it? No, it's called abuse and misuse. So there are serious problems with this case, not the first of which is the First Amendment. As Elena Kagan on the Supreme Court said, the First Amendment doesn't take a vacation when social media is involved. Ainsley?
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We will be watching. This is the first of about 1,500 similar cases. So this is the first time he'll appear under oath before a jury. Thanks, guys.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.